Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your presenter, Wendy Peebles. Wendy.
Good afternoon. I'm Wendy Peebles, Census Bureau Economic Management Division. Welcome to today's webinar, Resources to Boost Innovation and Competitiveness for U.S. Manufacturers. It is my pleasure to host the webinar today along with our trade promotion partners, NIST Manufacturing Extension Partnership, U.S. Small Business Administration, U.S. Commercial Service, Export-Import Bank of the United States, and the Minority Business Development Agency Export Center. They are all present today to share their services, tools, and programs to assist you with expanding operations globally. Manufacturing Month is a way to celebrate manufacturers who export and encourage other manufacturers in the U.S. to begin exporting or expand global sales. We have an informative webinar plan, so I will provide you with the agenda for today. To begin, we will have opening remarks from Heather Evans, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Manufacturing, Industry and Analysis, International Trade Administration. The Manufacturers Roundtable will be moderated by Pam Plagins, Advanced Manufacturing Team Leader, U.S. Commercial Service. Then we will have our agency to highlight each of their resources and programs to share with you. You will learn about export counseling, training, data tools to assist with your business plan, programs for minority-owned businesses, and much more. At the end, we will offer our Q&A. You will note the three little dots in the lower right-hand corner. Click on that and the Q&A feature will come up. Please submit your questions to all panelists. We have a team that will be monitoring the Q&A. Now, this webinar is being recorded. The recording, transcript, and presentation will be provided within about 10 days following the webinar. So some takeaways. As I mentioned, Manufacturing Month is a great way to recognize and celebrate our manufacturers, and learn some best practices for global market expansion. So some takeaways from today, you will receive online tools to access valuable trade data, finding new distributors and buyers, financing deals, minimizing non-payment and risk, and tapping into Manufacturers Institute. And I learned that there's 17 and it's vastly growing. So at this time, I'm going to just read you a little information on our guest speaker for today, her background. Heather Evans is the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Manufacturing for the International Trade Administration. In this role, she directs the U.S. Department of Commerce efforts to advance the global competitiveness of manufacturing industries through the development and execution of international trade and investment policies and promotion strategies. She oversees the Office of Transportation and Machinery, the Office of Energy and Environmental Industries, and the Office of Health and Information Technology. Evans joined ITA after working at the National Institute of Standards and Technology for over a decade. Most recently, she served as the director of the NIST Program Coordination Office in the Office of the Undersecretary, leading efforts on policy, budget, and strategies issues for the Institute. Heather was part of the initial team at NIST that built the foundation of the National Network for Manufacturing Innovation, now known as Manufacturing USA. She led many change initiatives across NIST, including data-driven studies and staff engagements to address inequity, which led to the establishment of a new NIST-wide Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Evan holds a doctorate in material science from the University of California, Santa Barbara, and a bachelor's degree in physics from Malacastor College in St. Paul, Minnesota. She and her husband, Chris, live in Alexandria, Virginia. Heather?
Thank you, Wendy. That was a really kind introduction. I just wanted to say a few opening remarks and then leave it to all of you for the meat of the conversation, of course, but very much appreciate the opportunity and the invitation to join you all today. Thank you to all of the partners that you went over. This is a great team effort across the government, and I'm really excited about the roundtable that'll happen next. As you noted, I started my new role. Well, I'm in a relatively new role. I started in March, but I do have experience from the manufacturing perspective, having worked at NIST. And as you mentioned, I was part of the early days of Manufacturing USA. So really excited to see one of those institutes featured today and to learn more. And let me just say a bit about the International Trade Administration and the team that I have. So I oversee the manufacturing unit, and we cover so many different really exciting technologies, including broadband, 5G, other advanced communications technologies, Internet of Things, robotics, biopharmaceuticals, biotech, automotive. It's just like you name it, we get to work on it. And it's really exciting. So we have a lot of industry expertise and trade specialists, as well as economists on my team that are always looking across to understand how the industry is moving, especially with an eye to global trends. And so that's why we're part of ITA, which is actually a whole 2,200 person strong organization. It includes people like Pam, who's going to be involved in the next session, and folks located around the world. It's actually pretty exciting when you start learning more about it, as I have been able to since I started. Our agency is really committed to supporting this administration's broader vision, of course, of driving equitable, resilient, and place-based economic development and growth, and helping build a more prosperous and secure economy for everyone. And so examples of the types of impacts that we track just in the last fiscal year in 2022, our trade assistance facilitated $174 billion in U.S. exports, as well as inward investment into the U.S., which altogether supported 625,000 American jobs. And so we're a part of the puzzle, but we're by no means the entire picture. It takes a whole of government approach really to tackle all these interesting challenges. And it's of course not just the government, but it's these public-private partnerships, especially like the ones we've talked about with those Manufacturing USA institutes. Those are a real key to us being successful here. And let me just say, of course, we're in a really historic time with so many opportunities now through the Biden-Harris administration's implementation of the CHIPS and Science Act, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act. We now have a whole set of new tools and resources that are going to help us get our nation on an exciting track. So I just wanted to briefly touch as well as on a relatively new focus that we are being more overt about, which is the focus on supply chains and reducing our vulnerability to supply chains. And so we've been doing a lot of thinking about how do we track and understand what's going on globally, and how do we make sure we can best support American manufacturers. I would just two other quick things before I turn it back to you all. One is that I wanted to point folks to the 2023 National Export Strategy. That includes a whole chapter dedicated to manufacturing, and it really highlights some of the key areas that we are going to do across government to really help leverage those competitive advantages that the United States has and go after those really exciting market opportunities. There's also a chapter on climate and clean technologies that also spells out a lot of our thinking about where we can really put our resources. And then finally, just one example of the types of activities that we do in ITA that might be of interest to this group. Just last year, it was before I joined ITA, but we led a really successful trade mission focused on advanced manufacturing, where we brought 12 SME companies and 2 economic development organizations on a mission where they visited Indonesia, Singapore, and Japan, and that allowed these companies to better connect with other potential markets and understand how they could actually expand and serve opportunities there. So it's the industry analysis, it's the trade missions, it's the policy development, it's implementing all these exciting programs that's keeping us really busy right now. And as I mentioned before, it's not just a government thing, and it's certainly not just an ITA thing. So I really appreciate everybody's partnership here, and really look forward to the folks who are taking time to celebrate Manufacturing Month. We just have a few more days left. So with that, thank you so much.
We see that you're trying to speak, but you are currently on mute.
Hello. Pam, are you on?
I am.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Des Evans. We are very, very pleased to have you today because you are somewhat understand the connecting glue between the manufacturing institutes and the export promotion agencies that we're talking about today. So we'll get started with our panel. Hello, The panel today represents manufacturers who are tapping resources across the U.S. government's export promotion agencies and the Manufacturing USA Institutes to move innovation forward here and abroad. The 17 institutes of Manufacturing USA each have a unique technology concentration, but are designed to accelerate U.S. advanced manufacturing as a whole. It's a national network created to secure U.S. global leadership in advanced manufacturing through large-scale public-private collaboration on technology, supply chain, education, and workforce development. The network comprises the U.S. Departments of Commerce, Energy and Defense, and their sponsored manufacturing innovation institutes, and 6 additional federal agency partners, creating a whole of government national effort to drive innovation in manufacturing. In 2022, the network collectively worked with over 2,500 member organizations, 63% which are manufacturers, and 73% of these that are small businesses, collaborating on over 670 major technology and workforce R&D projects, engaging over 106,000 people in advanced manufacturing training, and invested $416 million in these activities from state, industry, and federal funds. So our panel today will feature Kimberly Gibson, who wears 2 hats, and Kimberly's going to join us now. Kimberly wears 2 hats and will provide a unique perspective as both a founder and CEO of an additive manufacturing company, IC3D, and as ecosystem director with America Makes, based in Youngstown, Ohio. America Makes recently celebrated its 10-year anniversary. Next, we'll have Andrew Maxey, CEO of Vartega Golden, Colorado. Vartega has developed a low-cost grade of carbon fiber through the use of a patented recycling process used in a broad range of applications. Vartega leverages the connections with IACME, the Composites Institute in Knoxville, Tennessee. And according to his bio, which I loved reading this, Andrew his initial interest in carbon fiber composites came from his love of all things that go fast, including bikes and skis. And Maria Nordover is Director of New Business Development with Howe Corporation in Chicago. Howe is an OEM ice equipment manufacturer and Chicago institution for the past 111 years. Howe is a 4th-generation female-owned company, and Maria will share with you today how she's effectively harnessed resources across those of the Commercial Service, EXIM, and MXD, the Digital Manufacturing and Cybersecurity Institute in Chicago. So let's get started. I'm going to do our kickoff question, and then we'll go in the order we just introduced. So Kimberly and panelists, please tell us about your company or your organization and your exporting journey. So how long have you been exporting? When did it start? And what and how significant is exporting in your business model?
Thank you, Pam. And it was so wonderful to hear Deputy Assistant Secretary Evans. I am so delighted to be here. So here's my story about the exporting. So my small 3D printing company that I'm a co-owner of is called IC3D, and we started our journey in 2012. My partner started the company and I joined a little bit later. We learned about exporting opportunities. We were looking for new markets for materials at the time. This is when 3D printing was new. The patents had expired on the dominant type of plastic 3D printing that most of you know. And those patents expiring just kicked off, an amazing group of makers all over the world, right? So we were one of the first United States companies to make materials that were dedicated just for 3D printing, meaning we didn't make it for other industries and then use it for 3D printing. It was just for 3D printing. So that was kind of a new thing at the time. And this was 2013, we started the materials business. And 2015, 2016, we were looking at exporting. And the first country we looked at was Brazil. And same time zone, south of us. And I'm from the state of Ohio, and we had a lot of wonderful connections inside the state of Ohio. They have an amazing network. So we went down there, they introduced us to a local manufacturer, second generation family owned extrusion operation that could help us make materials, founded in Sao Paulo. And we used one of the programs. Pam, I told you the name of it and now it's escaping me. The program where they help you get money to do a website and they reimburse you for costs. So we use that program to get, what's that called?
I think that's the STEP program you're referring to with
Yes.
SBA. Mhm.
Yes, thank you. Wonderful. And we
You're welcome.
access that through the SBDC program. So then we hooked up with a former colleague who was an automotive engineer from my partner had worked at a global automotive OEM. And so he had a colleague that lived in Brazil who could speak Portuguese and could, represent us. So we had to find a local rep. We had a lawyer that we got through the STEP program, that we met through the STEP program, to understand all the local stuff. And so the whole idea was we were going to teach that company the technology, the extrusion technology. They already knew how to extrude what they were doing, but teach them how to do it for 3D printing, all the quality controls, give them the brand, the marketing, the strategy to start production in Brazil, to basically just do this for Brazil. So we started that 2015, 2016. We got really far down the road. And then I'm going to say a bad thing. I'm going to say the government kind of fell during that time, and you just can't plan for that. And we weren't able to, inflation went crazy and we weren't able to get our money out of the country. So as a small business, that was a really, really difficult thing. And a small business, which was under a few million in revenue at the time. So we decided that we were going to not do that anymore, part ways, have a great relationship in Brazil with that company, and a great relationship with all those actors. And when the time was right, again, we would start it up again. So we're kind of at that point now where we're trying to decide whether we want to start it up again, because 3D printing is a lot more ubiquitous. So that's my shaggy dog story, which was we did everything right and then something happened. But it was an amazing journey, and we couldn't have even gotten as far as we got without all the government resources that we had. There was just no way a small business like us could ever have done that. So I'm much more to share, but I'll stop there because I'll just stop there.
No problem. We'll go to Andrew next.
Thank you, Pam, and thank you, Kimberly, and all of you for joining today. I'm really excited to talk with you a little bit about what Bartega does. We are based here in Colorado, and we recycle carbon fiber. Now, carbon fiber is a very strong, lightweight, stiff material used in composites, specifically for aerospace applications and wind energy. It's also used more and more in automotive, consumer electronics, and sporting goods as well, including 3D printing. So thank you, Kimberly, for your help with that. Our business was started in 2014, and very quickly we realized that there was an opportunity for us to explore collaboration internationally. And that's because carbon fiber composites are very regional. So we've got a significant opportunity here in North America, but also there's a large use of carbon fiber in aerospace in Europe. Airbus is a big consumer of that material. And then also in Asia, many of the major carbon fiber companies are based in Japan. And then a lot of the use of carbon fiber happens in China for sporting goods and consumer products. So we recognized early on that our technology would be of benefit and value to those other regions, and decided that we wanted to pursue collaboration in those areas. And we did that through attending trade shows early on. We were fortunate also to receive some STEP funding, a STEP grant, to be able to explore a major composite show in France that happens every spring, and develop some key relationships early on with potential customers there. And then also, because of that connection to Japan I mentioned with the carbon fiber companies, develop some strategic relationships with trading partners there that wanted to help us expand our opportunity to export to both Europe and Asia with our material. So we've been fortunate to have those relationships and continue to develop and nurture those relationships over the past several years. I still travel regularly to Europe and to Asia to meet with these partners. And we have been selling material into applications more predominantly in Europe thus far, but product going into Asia as well. So the great thing is we have wonderful partners that are helping us to do that, including the federal government and the state of Colorado through helping us attend these trade shows and develop those relationships. So really appreciate those opportunities and recognize that as we continue to grow our business, we also will not only be able to export material from Colorado, but export technology and be able to co-locate with customers in those other regions, and even more so, locate close to the source of our feedstock, our raw material, which is the carbon fiber scrap. That's important because we can reduce the logistics and infrastructure to transport these materials halfway around the world, which is a better sustainability benefit and better to resonate with our mission and impact. So thank you again for having me, and I look forward to answering some more questions.
Thank you so much. Maria, you're up.
All right. Thank you, Pam. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you all. What a panel. It sounds like United Nations. We've all been in so many different markets. I work currently with Howe Corporation. As Pam mentioned, 110 plus year company established in Chicago. We make ice equipment. This is the type of ice, flake ice, mainly used in the food industry. And it really is a landmark in the city. We started exporting, I would say 70 or so years ago, not because we were searching for it, but because we were in a trade show, a seafood trade show, which was our #1 industry at that time. Now we're in 5 industries. And at the trade shows, which are so important for us because it really does draw from people from all over the world. Companies from Canada attended that show, and we slowly started building relationships and quoting. The first equipment shipped, and started feeling a little bit more comfortable. And before we knew it, we were full blown in Canada. And as we grew our markets here in the US to other areas, like the retails, the supermarkets, like if you go into any Whole Foods, if you look at their seafood department, that's all of Howe Ice, to give you an idea of what it is. But I would say that the main advantage for the company at that time, given we're very small, it's a very small privately owned 4th generation company, was that we had almost like a passport to the world. And unbeknownst to us, there were all these resources. And at the time, we didn't know about the resources. But as we started to build relationships, we started uncovering some great connections, which I'll tell you about at the next session. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you, everyone, for giving us a great introduction to your organizations. So the next question is, please tell us a little bit about the Manufacturing Institute that you're involved with and how that came about. If you can talk about a little bit about the value proposition of being connected to a Manufacturing Institute. Thank you so much. And we're going to start with Andrew this time and then go to Maria and Kimberly.
Thank you. Yeah, this one is really fun for me. I'm excited to talk about IACME, which is the Composites Institute. They are a multi-state public-private partnership, not unlike the other institutes. And Colorado is one of the original member states of that institute. So fortunately for us, we were plugged in very early. Had Colorado not been a member, that would have been okay. We still had a very strong connection to the work happening at IACME because they set some very ambitious goals early on with respect to composites recycling. And that was in partnership with the Department of Energy. So both the DOE and IACME have been wonderful partners for Vartega. We were able to participate in a project early on. It was a technical collaboration, which allowed us to work with Oak Ridge National Lab, the University of Dayton Research Institute, Colorado School of Mines, and several industry partners as well, including Ford and BASF and Michelman and others. So the infrastructure that these institutes create is really, in my mind, the biggest benefit and strength. It's really about creating a network of collaboration. And with IACME, particularly, they have member meetings periodically, and being able to network with those folks and begin projects that may even happen outside of one of these institutes results in product development and ultimately product sales. So I can attribute many of our projects and a significant portion of our revenue to collaborations that have come out of our relationships from IACME. I believe strongly that these are great institutes, and I'm grateful that the Department of Energy has continued to fund IACME going forward. Thank you.
Maria?
Yes, this one I can't really give all the credit to one agency. I have to mention two or three of them. First, EXIM Bank. We're very involved with EXIM Bank all the way back from, I would say, the 60s, 70s, well, 70s. Our chairwoman was very active at EXIM Bank on a committee and had made great connections there. And through EXIM Bank, we've been able to get great credit insurance for starting out for small sales for export. It gave us peace of mind. And then we transitioned into private insurance with their help. So that's the goal, is to transition to private help and be independent and strong. And that's where we are. The second institute I would say that we're most active with is OTI in Chicago, the Office of Trade and Investment. Outstanding people. Like they have, the Illinois offices has a couple of offices overseas, and they know, they have experts in the field in different industries, and they know exactly who to tap into. And they also have great connections with the consulates, which they have great information about the market. And so those two agencies have been amazing. With the iStep program, we've been able to do a trade mission in Canada, made some great connections there with global companies, not only to export to Canada, but companies that have facilities all over the world, really. So that program, iStep, if the people listening, if you don't know about it, go online and look it up, or feel free to contact me. I could walk you through it too. It's a great assistance, outstanding. They help you with the research. Even now they've added something that shipping costs for your product to exhibit at these trade shows. If you participate in a trade show mission overseas with them, they do the advertising for you. They even do pre-meeting setups, so matchmaking before. So something that would cost us, I don't know, close to $100,000. With their support, it's like a quarter of the cost. So wonderful. And one last thing, MXD is, we've recently started working with them. The Deputy Assistant Secretary Evans mentioned the SME, that's a small manufacturing enterprise. We're a member of MXD. We were invited to be a member of that institution. They're more digital manufacturing and we're more manufacturing, hardcore manufacturing, and you wonder why, what's the connection there? But we're going to be moving to another location, and they have offered to help us lay out the new footprint, the new layout of the manufacturing floor digitally to maximize efficiency. So that's wonderful. They're down the street, and we are able to help them, given that we're so close. They are testing some ideas, some products. So we're reciprocating and allowing them to put some of their product that they're developing into our manufacturing plant. So it's a win-win for everybody. So there you go.
Thank you so much, Maria. It reminds me of the digital twin process and how valuable it is for manufacturers in general, but small
Yep.
manufacturers who are dipping their toes into this.
Mhm. Yep.
So we're going to go to our next question. Now, Maria, we may have overlapped a little bit with this, so hopefully you'll have a chance to elaborate. But we're going to start you first. How do you find new customers in the global marketplace, and what key federal and state resources that your company has tapped to facilitate your global sales success?
Okay, so as mentioned, definitely iStep, but I would say that trade shows, referrals, and the globalized website, which we were able to get government funding for. We really, after we did an SEO work on our main website, the company made us realize that you're not reaching a lot of these foreign markets because you don't have a globalized website. You need to put in testimonials for customers they recognize, and you need to put in languages that they recognize, not just Google Translate, but really globalize it. So that was wonderful, and we received funding for that as well. So that, besides everything else I mentioned, I would say those are the main things. And something really important is the research on the ground. If you use these agencies to do the legwork for you, and you're very clear about the type of companies you're looking for. If you use these agencies to vet the companies that you're going after, it saves you so much time and it doesn't cost you anything. So why not let the people on the ground vet them? They're there. They can even go there and check it out. Because it's kind of scary, being a small company, to go into these markets not knowing who you're doing business with, right? So I would say that's the main points.
Well, thank you. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, folks, but I wanted to jump back to our previous question and make sure that Kimberly has an opportunity to tell us about the Manufacturing Institute. I suspect she has a lot to say.
I do. Thank you, Pam. So America Makes, as we said earlier, is the nation's largest public-private partnership for additive manufacturing in the United States, probably in the world. And with over 260 members, you can imagine the network that a small business can tap into. And I want to wholeheartedly recommend that. My small business tapped into America Makes from the earliest days. In fact, we couldn't afford the membership. So America Makes created a program that gave us points for engagement, gave us points for listing them on their website, gave us cost share to get towards a silver membership, which is the lowest level, so that we could participate in activities and see the research portfolio and participate in project calls, which is technology that the Institute makes available for small businesses to advance their own technologies. So I'll say that IC3D was able to both take advantage of the tremendous network in the Department of Defense that's there at America Makes, take advantage and has some of the grants and other opportunities that are non-dilutive capital into a small business. If you don't want to give your business to venture capital and other investment vehicles, the institutes offer that kind of funding strategy to advance and grow your research and your capability. So IC3D took advantage of that. In fact, doing some recycled polymers experiments. And I'll say that I forgot to mention this earlier, that IC3D has a line of recycled 3D printing material that is available across the nation at Micro Center. So it's at a physical retail store, which is very unusual, by the way. And most of the brands that Micro Center carries are Chinese. So it's pretty cool that a small business in Columbus, Ohio has is competing head to head on that level because of experimentation. I'll say the other thing the Institute offers really is that network. So the small business is able to then engage with the Department of Defense, which is a very difficult matter. And meaning it requires accounting systems and other things that you just don't understand when you're a small business. So if you can do that at the local level, the Institute can then help you, engage and do technology transfer in small ways across the enterprise. So I wanted to say that because I think it's really important to know that institutes help with that tech development. It helps with education and training of your workforce, wherever they are on the spectrum, whether that's new folks coming in or incumbent workers. And then the final piece is the ecosystem. So really connecting you in that supply chain. And so that was a huge success story for my small business. And ultimately, when I decided to come to America Makes after COVID, it was to make sure that small businesses knew about what was happening and make those programs even stronger. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about that, Pam.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to give you a moment to regroup, and I'm going to go to Andrew and then come back to you for this new question about the ecosystem of federal and state resources.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that, Pam. So we've been really fortunate to benefit, as I mentioned, from the STEP program. I've been able to work with the state of Colorado to travel internationally, to participate in conferences and trade shows, to promote our products and services. And the state of Colorado has been great in the fact that they actually will also have a presence there formally to promote what they're doing and what we're all doing together here in Colorado with advanced manufacturing. Just to toot Colorado's horn a little bit more, because they've been such a great partner, they have a program in their Office of Economic Development and International Trade. It's called the Advanced Industries Program. And they have set aside, the legislature has actually set aside funding to invest in innovative technology across their 7 advanced industries. Vartega is fortunate to qualify under aerospace, advanced manufacturing, and clean technology. And we've been able to partner with the state in those programs, but also with other academic partners at the universities. We've done a project actually where we got an HP 3D printer for the Colorado School of Mines, and then a dual robot system for Colorado State University, utilizing those funds where Vartega was bringing the cost share with respect to our materials development. So Kimberly and I should talk more about recycled filament, because we actually produce a recycled carbon fiber that goes into polypropylene for Braskem, now called Exteller, in their 3D printing filament and pellets. So those investments that the state of Colorado made was really a wonderful opportunity to advance the technologies we were developing on the material side, but also pushing the envelope on the hardware and software side with these partners as well. And that's really allowed us to do other amazing things with partners here. We've also been fortunate to participate in an NSF project. National Science Foundation had an SBIR phase 1 that we did a couple of years ago. And that's America's Seed Fund. It's a wonderful program to invest in early stage companies to help get a technology off the ground, which is exactly what it did for Vartega when we were very early in our development. So these are fantastic programs. I encourage everybody to look into these. These are dollars that are made available to help American domestic manufacturing. And that's a big part of what we're trying to do here is creating a robust workforce that's creating value here in the United States. So I'm grateful for those programs.
Thank you so much. And Kimberly, I'm going to bring you back and see if we can talk about the ecosystem. What key federal, state resources or other ones that you've tapped as well?
Yes, I think Andrew is my spirit animal because he's singing the same song I am. So is Maria on the IC3D side of the equation. So just getting that support, SBIRs, I know that's not what we're here to specifically focus on, but I just want to say as a small business, you definitely want to take advantage of that. You want to build relationships in agencies that need that technology that you have. You want to build those relationships at the Institute because there may be a big company that wants the technology you have or wants to co-develop it with you. And that's the value, not just of the Institutes, but of the SBIR program to advance your capabilities as a small company and then give you something amazing to export, right? So that's all a part of it. I wanted to say also a shout out to Maria and what she said about working at the local level. One of the important things, whether you're working in, another country or you're working here in the United States, you want to connect. One of the things we did was we connected with resellers, folks who sell equipment and sell stuff in other countries. If you can connect with them, they are the experts on their markets. You build a relationship with them, they will sell your stuff in their local area or their territory in their country. And I'm going to say business development people are gold. They are so smart, they're creative, and they are fearless when it comes to helping you get into a place and understanding, wrapping their heads around your product, your market, and your strategy, and going as local as you can. And the STEP program and the state government business development people are excellent at this. They'll help you tap into those local governments in the regions of the world that you want to work in. And just as a shout to the next thing, you also want to tap in. If you're a technology, manufacturing is huge. You're going to want to tap into that community of practice where you are, whether that's a trade association, whether that's a regional networking group. You want to be mindful of the policies that exist in that region. That was my mistake earlier in Brazil. And so I learned the very hard way by losing money that you have to do that sooner rather than later and not be naive about what's really going on. And I had wonderful people around me, so it was awesome. So lots of great advice that's being dropped here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So as our audience can see, there's a lot of resources out there, and they're being tapped in unique ways that meet the needs of each individual organization. So as we wrap up this panel, I wanted to go around the room and see if everyone can give us what is your best advice for manufacturers considering expanding their global market presence. And let's start with I'm actually going to call this out, and we're going to start with Maria. Then we'll go to Kimberly and Andrew.
Okay, great. I would say the best advice is, number one, always create a win-win situation. Otherwise, it's a one-time deal, and that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to build long-term relationships, and that, besides their business, they'll be referring you. That's the best way to grow, is make one customer happy and he'll bring 3. Number 2, use local, state, and federal resources as much as possible. And if you don't know where to begin, start local. Start with your mayor's office. We have the World Business Chicago. Amazing. They are connecting us to all kinds of resources, and they'll guide you. They want you to grow, especially being a small female-owned business. Have fun with it. You never know when you're going to make a great connection. Put yourself out there. The other day, I was invited last minute to a luncheon with the ambassador of Canada. And I thought, well, okay, we're there. Let's just go. It was not far. I went, amazing connection. We already had a conference call with the local consulate here, and all of their information, all the resources they have, not only here, but in Canada. And just have fun with it.
Well, thank you so
It's
much.
a great opportunity.
Because it can bring so much satisfaction. So we're going to go to
one thing I
Kimberly
did
next.
not.
Oh, sure.
I didn't mention IMAC and IMA, Illinois Manufacturers Association.
Oh, so great.
Also amazing, amazing resources. They connect you. They're so well connected. They're always looking out for you. They have grants, they have training, they have advice, and really the cost is so little to be a member of that. Start with the associations of, as someone else mentioned, I think Kimberly mentioned, start with the association locally. So if we're in the food business, so we would be in the Seafood Association. Ask them who the association for a referral in the countries you want to be, because they have associations in those countries as well. So if you're referred by the US Association and you go into the other one, then you know it's reputable, and that's where the ball starts growing. So.
Well, thank you so much, because there are so many different ways and so many resources. I think talking to, a couple of them, they'll connect you with a great,
Yes.
ecosystem. And speaking of ecosystems, Kimberly, I see you on camera. So share with us your best advice.
This will be quick. The first thing is learn the rules of the market that you're going into. That's the legal, the policy, the cultural, and the political. You just have to. And in order to do that, you're going to have to talk to the folks on the ground in the nation that you want to be in, and in the community of practice that you want to be in, the kind of manufacturing that you do, whether it's food or equipment or whatever. And there is, as you've already heard, a great deal of state level, wherever you live, and federal level agency support for you to know all of the things you need to know. And finally, find a local liaison to support your brand and close the deals in the language and in the culture and in the place where you want to be. And that's very succinct.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much. All lessons that sometimes are learned the hard way.
Oh, yeah.
And Andrew, we'll let you wrap this up before we go to an overview of the agencies and then our Q&A.
Wonderful, Pam. Thank you. I'll just upvote what Maria and Kimberly both said. Their points are spot on. There's so many resources out there. Just do your research. The internet is your friend. A couple of quick searches and you will learn more than you could have ever imagined. And reach out to the partners that are on this call. They're all wonderful people and are happy to help you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you all so much for this lively discussion. And please, audience, submit your questions in the Q&A. We'll take a look at those while we are reviewing our federal resources. And I'm going to hand this over to Steve Sullivan with SBA and Eugene with EXIM.
Thanks, Pam. Eugene and I will tag team on the agency resources, try to go through pretty quick. The first one, the MEP National Network, includes the National Institute of Standards and Technologies Manufacturing Extension Partnership, NIST MEP, 51 MEP centers, and over 1,450 trusted advisors at approximately 430 MEP service locations. Each MEP center is a partnership between the federal government and a variety of public or private entities, including state, university, and nonprofit organizations. MEP centers work with manufacturers to develop new products and customers, expand and diversify markets, adopt new technology, and enhance value within supply chains. And Export Tech is a national export assistance program helping companies enter or expand in global markets, jointly offered by the NIST MEP and the U.S. Commercial Service. Export Tech applies a structured export strategy development process that assists companies to accelerate growth. Export Tech connects companies with a wide range of world-class experts to help navigate the export sales process. The result is that companies rapidly expand global sales and save countless hours of effort. Since 2006, 268 export tech programs have been delivered in 37 states and Puerto Rico, with 1,345 participating companies generating $623 million in sales. So next agency, next slide, SBA's Office of International Trade helps small businesses go global by providing business intelligence, grants to find customers overseas, and financing to support international sales. So if you're looking for information to help you get started, the sba.gov/trade tools website includes information on developing an export plan, identifying target markets, U.S. trade agreements, and much more. You can also email international@sba.gov for assistance. Are you concerned about the costs of exporting? The State Trade Expansion Program STEP grant, which has been mentioned a couple times on this webinar, provides grants to cover the costs associated with entering and expanding into international markets. STEP can reimburse travel and/or trade show costs, website globalization, export training, and more. Visit www.sba/STEP to find out if your state or territory is participating. And finally, if you need capital to support your export growth, SBA's export loans can be used to finance foreign sales or expand export production capacity, helping you better compete globally. Visit sba.gov/international to connect with your regional export finance manager, or browser search find an SBA export finance manager. And the next agency, the U.S. Commercial Service, CS, is the trade and investment promotion arm of the U.S. Department of Commerce's International Trade Administration, ITA, with a network of 100 plus offices across the U.S. and in American embassies and consulates in more than 80 international markets. Its mission is to strengthen the U.S. economy and help create jobs by expanding U.S. exports and facilitating inward investment into the United States. It is an export solutions provider leveraging global connections to help businesses find partners and customers, assist with strategic planning, and provide foreign market and industry intelligence, website globalization support, and assistance in addressing trade issues. For more information, visit www.trade.gov. Locate your nearest commercial service office at trade.gov/let our experts help, or browser search export assistance U.S. Commercial Service. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Eugene.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Steve. So the Export-Import Bank of the United States is the nation's official export credit agency with the mission of supporting American jobs by facilitating U.S. exports and services. U.S. small businesses play a critical role in creating and supporting American jobs, and nearly 90% of EXIM's transactions directly benefit small businesses. EXIM provides export finance solutions to empower these businesses, including companies with fewer than 100 employees or those who have traditionally been underserved, such as minority-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned, rural, and startup companies. To achieve this, EXIM offers two primary products: export credit insurance and a working capital loan guarantee, which are both designed to help U.S. companies mitigate the risk and access working capital so they can confidently export their goods and services worldwide. For more information, visit exim.gov, or you can connect with an EXIM trade finance specialist at grow.exim.gov/consultation request. And to learn more about how other small businesses are using EXIM products, visit exim.gov/results. Now on to the next agency. The Census Bureau is the official source of the U.S. export and import statistics and regulations governing the reporting of exports from the U.S. to other countries. The Census Bureau provides extensive outreach and education to its customers on understanding the foreign trade regulations, classifying commodities, using the automated export system, and utilizing trade data. USA Trade Online allows users to obtain monthly and annual trade statistics at the district and port level, as well as the state exports and imports. For more information, you can visit www.census.gov/trade or call the International Trade Helpline at 800-549-0595. Data tools are provided as free services by the Census Bureau to give users access to the most current U.S. international trade data. Visit usatrade.census.gov to access current and historical data on USA Trade Online, or explore Census Global Market Finder to help identify potential trade markets for you. You can also access the latter by typing in Census Global Market Finder into your internet search engine. Both are great trade data tools that can assist you with your export business planning. And finally, last but not least, the last agency is the MBDA, or the Minority Business Development Agency. The MBDA has funded programs that deliver business development services to the nation's minority-owned businesses. Included in their network are 4 export centers that provide MBDA clients counseling and training to support global market expansion. These export centers work with the clients to develop export business plans and coordinate them to appropriate federal export promotion resources. MBDA export centers are able to work in all markets, but each center has a geographic specialty which helps facilitate referrals. The Arizona Export Center specializes in Native American communities and tribal lands. The Houston Export Center in African markets, the Miami Export Center in the Caribbean and the Florida diaspora, and finally, San Antonio on Mexico and Latin American markets. Go to the links on the slide on your screen, or just search Find an MBDA Export Center in your favorite browser to get connected and to learn more about the services they have to offer. Lastly, we're all here to talk about Manufacturing Month. To learn more about Manufacturing Month, we encourage you to visit trade.gov/Manufacturing Month. Here you'll find numerous links related to Manufacturing Month, the history of it, the Manufacturing USA Partnership, National Associations of Manufacturers, or NAM, additional U.S. government resources, and much more. So we encourage you to visit, again, trade.gov/Manufacturing Month to learn more. Now I believe it's time for our Q&A session, so I will pass it back to our moderator, Pam.
Thank you so much, Eugene. It was great to see the trade.gov website, because it's the answer to one of the questions earlier when Andrew was saying just look on the internet and start, searching around. Trade.gov is a great place to start if you're looking for export resources or folks to talk to across our agencies. So you've gotten a taste of it. So I'm going to go to our first question that came in from the Q&A. So what percentage of your sales is international? Did COVID affect the relative importance of international to your business? And I'm going to ask our panelists to come on camera, and I will give them the opportunity to answer in any, whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. I would say exports are about 20%. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. But I would say that it's very important for us to always have international no less than 20, because it helps us ride, like when business is down in the US or interest rates, the international saves the year or makes it, we thrive because of the international. It's a good balance. The same thing we do with retail and industrial. It's a nice mix. And during COVID, it didn't really affect us because we're in the food industry. So our product is used in the processing plants of food. So that was just producing the whole time. We never stopped. Yep.
This is Kimberly. I'll say that our volumes increased for 10 weeks, for like 3 months. We were running 3 shifts at our facility to keep up with demand because of the nature of what was happening. We were making PPE, 3D printed PPE, and providing the materials for the world to be able to do that, because some of the designs that were approved by health, in the National Institute, other folks like that, were using our materials, which was that recycled PETG. So yes, it had a huge effect on our business and a huge ongoing effect into the future that still continues.
I would just add that our sales cycle is quite long. We have an engineered material that goes into some complex applications and structures. So international sales for our business today is not as big as we would like it to be, but we see the opportunity growing, and we do have many of our materials going into our customers' products that they are then exporting. So that's actually a nice thing to be part of that supply chain, although we are not directly exporting a lot of material at this point.
And Andrew, while you're on screen, can you elaborate on the SBIR?
Yeah, the National Science Foundation, their SBIR grant program, as I said, it's like referred to as America's Seed Fund, and it's early stage funding. There's a proposal process. It is a competitive process, but if you just do a quick search for National Science Foundation SBIR, you can learn all about it. There are program managers that you can reach out to. There are solicitations for specific topic areas. So you want to find a topic area that's relevant to your technology. And I would say great people running that grant program that do want to help see early stage innovation succeed.
Well, thank you so much. We are at the top of the hour, and I'm going to hand this back to Wendy to provide some closing remarks.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I want to thank you all for joining. Special thanks to our attendees that are on the call today and our businesses that participated on the panel. We thank you so much for sharing your successful stories, and also our trade promotion partners for the services and the programs that you provide. So once again, happy to offer the webinar and thankful for the manufacturers' contributions in providing employment, innovation, and economic growth to the U.S. economy. Just like to ask that as you log off, please complete the evaluation. We value your feedback, and just let us know how we did today, or if there's any future content that you would like for us to present. This concludes our webinar. Thank you for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You may disconnect at this time.